replace my AR45 with an AR30 because I've had nothing but problems, mostly leaking problems with my AR45. So I decided to stay with AR, but purchase a different style of pump, and it looked like some of my fellow washers were using with success the AR30. I didn't like the bail type. Let me show you here. This is the regulator that AR suggests to use on the AR30, 40, and 50. And I don't like this bail part right here. There's 4 adjustments and a fine-tune adjustment, but I just didn't like that. I like to be able to adjust on the fly. So I had asked him about this GR40 regulator right here that I have on there. And who I asked was, I called AR America and talked to tech, and they said that this regulator would not fit on this pump. And so I asked them why, and they said the studs are too short. And I said, well, what if I just replace the studs and put longer studs in to mount this, you know, adjustable regulator? And they said that the studs were cast in to the housing and you couldn't unscrew them. So I went ahead and bought it anyway, because I thought they've got to be idiots to cast a stud into a housing. Now, I have seen that before, but rarely do you, this is a metal housing, rarely do you cast in a stud in a metal housing. You see it in plastic. But anyway, so I went ahead and took the chance and I purchased it. And sure enough, when I got it, those studs unscrewed. So they were really short for the other type of regulator. And what I did was I went down to my hardware store, and they had a really good selection. And this is a 8 by 1.5 by 66 millimeter stud, and it screwed right in. So the next problem was this gauge stuck straight out of here, sticking straight out, and so it would hit my oil filler cap. And so I purchased a little Street 45 and, you know, just kind of bent it up, made it come up this way, and it clears. So everything just fit just fine. So the reason I'm doing all this after the fact is because I was editing my video, and I deleted a big block, a big file that had all my initial stuff in it. So basically I had it all together, and I thought I could bolt the AR45 gearbox to the AR30, and it didn't work. It's way different. This mounting up here is way different on an AR45 than an AR30, 40, or 50. But this part that bolts to the engine is exactly the same. So I kind of was frustrated with myself that I didn't check that. I just assumed it was the same. I thought I'd read that they were the same, but anyway, they weren't. So this is where the video is going to pick up, and so there's plenty to see. Alright, so through the magic of editing, it's about a week later, I ordered my correct gearbox at the tune of like $430 shipped. I wish I could have used the old one. I started laughing to myself. I started editing the first part of this video, and I got to the point where I was like, I'm sure that gearbox on my 45 is going to work, and you guys probably in the know was probably screaming at your monitor saying, you're a freaking idiot, man. Anyway, I thought I read something like that 3 or 4 years ago, and I just had it ingrained in my mind that it would work, and I never really checked it. So double check your thinking, guys, especially when you're in your 60s. We don't think as clear as we used to. So anyway, I already verified,
bolt pattern is correct. I was wondering, this is the first time I ever taken a gearbox off or installed one. Actually, I bought my 45s, one of them with the gearbox on. Actually, both of them with the gearbox on. So this is the first time I've done the gearbox thing. So I was wondering how they sealed this up back here, but there's a hub here that this big O-ring right around here goes on. And here's a little note. Since I knew the O-ring was going to have to go over this and seal on this hub, there was a few places on this hub that had a burr, like right here. You can see, maybe you can see, I had to took my knife and scraped the burrs off. There was one right here. If left on, could cut that O-ring and, you know, screw up your install. So with O-rings, you know, you want to lubricate them with silicone grease. It doesn't take too much, but we'll just go in here like that. Nice and lubricated. Let me lube up this. Just kind of get it on there right now. Spread it around. All right, so let's put this baby on here. I'm going to line up a couple of bolts just so I don't get this cockeyed. Already felt a little cockeyed. Yeah, there we go. Okay. There we go. Yep. There's a little bit of bolt interference there. They're starting, but not perfectly lined up. Okay, so next thing that goes on is your driven gear. So it lines up like so. We've got 3 bolts. I'm not going to put Loctite on here. Now, if these pumps lasted for 10 years, that'd be one thing, but I really expect changing pumps out every year. My first AR45 lasted 2 years, only because I worked on it all the time. My second AR lasted, well, it's still running 1 year, but it has a hole in the head, and so it kind of seeps directly out of the head. Anyway, let me get some wrenches here. Okay, so I found a hex driver for these Allen heads here. It's what size is it? 5/16. Fits right in there. Okay, let's see how I'm going to hold this. Oh. All right, I got to hold that somehow. So I'm going to grab it right here with my vice grips. Put a little cardboard right here to protect the teeth. Okay, now I'm just going to do this by hand. And that last one. And that should do it. Okay. All right, gear's tight. Got to put the gasket on here. Now, I want to reuse this. If I ever, like next year, I want to change this pump out. I'm not going to replace the whole gearbox. I'm going to split it like this and just exchange this off of here onto my new pump. And so I don't want this to stick, like if I put copper coat or some kind of gasket sealer on there, I want it to come off. So I'm going to put a little bit of silicone grease here on the mating surface, like that. That'll stick it down there and let it come back off. Okay, so put it on here too. I don't want it sticking. I don't want to use it over again. I think I may have to get some more grease. Okay, there we go. Let's see, it feels like it's going to go on here better. It's got a shoulder, so let's, yeah. That gasket's shrunk up. Look at that. Look how far that hole is. I don't know if it'll reach. Holy cow. Okay, so this gasket had shrunk up, and so I captured it with this bolt and trying to stretch it over this collar here, and that's how much short I was. Look at that. So let me see if the AR45 gasket is the same. Just took the AR45 gearbox apart. I've got the gasket. It looks like it's going to be just fine. See, it fits perfect. This one shrunk up, or it was made too small. Okay. Let's get a... Well, I was going to do something, but I don't want to do it now. Let's see. There it is. Perfect. These 4 long bolts go right through here that not only hold the gearbox together but mounts it. There's a little boss sticking out right there, keeping that one from going on. Come on, AR. Engineers. Crazy. Now when you guys pick out your gearboxes, the input, you can get a 3/4 inch, which is what I have, that matches my motor, or a 1 inch on both of these. AR45, you can get it 3/4 or 1 inch, and the 30 3/4 or 1 inch. Okay, got ahead of myself. Here's something to be cognizant of too, is I've got this one on 180 degrees out. Should be down here. See how this one is? The inputs on the bottom, inputs on the top here. So usually I'm pretty observant, but I just want to make note, not that I'm advocating for it, but it is kind of 70 degrees here in the afternoon in Missouri, and I have been partaking in the hops and barley, so that could be why. So I hope I can spin this baby right here on it. Oh yeah. All better. If you have a long 1/4 inch ball in Allen key. That helps. Once you break them loose, it helps you get them out a little quicker. They're still a pain. Having this ball end on this 1/4 inch key was fine on the bottom, but it's just too hard of an angle to get the top ones off both sides, so relegated to doing about a 1.5 flat at a time. Oh man, crazy. Alright, so I've got the mounting bolts off, so hopefully this will just slide off. Now, if you guys watched my video, I think it was like 7-8 months ago, where I put a new pump on. I couldn't get my old one off. It took me probably 2 hours to get it off, but I got it off without breaking it. And then I can't remember exactly what I did. I think I lubed up the shaft partial way and then put silicone around the shaft so no water could get back up into that hub. So let's see if it comes off. Oh yeah, it's nice and stuck. Great. Oh great. What in the heck is... Hadn't been on there very long. I just want to take a sledgehammer to it. Alright, so I've been at it about 30 minutes prying both sides. It's moved about 1/16 of an inch. Anyway, might be a 6-pack on this one. Alright, so I've been prying it back and forth, working it back and forth like this. I've got it out about 1/16 of an inch. I think it's going to be just as stuck as last time. It took me 2 or 3 hours. But anyway, I had to open up another one. If you guys haven't tried this, that's some good stuff. Alright, the reason I take the pump off, like last time when it got stuck, is because I could bring this forward a little bit and it would move maybe 0.005 of an inch, and then I could tap here and move that shaft back and just keep working that shaft while spraying WD-40 back in this crack here. So I'm not gonna put you through that. I'm just hoping I get that off without breaking this case. I've been at it now another 30 minutes, and you can see I've got about an 1/8 inch crack in there. So what I'm doing is prying out, tapping it back, spraying penetrating oil back here, and it's kicking my butt. So no words to say except all right. Another 30 minutes. This is what I'm up against right here. I put pressure on this side, I pry on this side. You ready? And it comes out a little bit. So I think I'm getting it. Throw a little WD-40 on that shaft, and I'll just keep working it like that. Update, I got it that far. Look at that. I put tension on this side, or pressure, put pressure on that side, and then I come over here and do this. One of my neighbors is or used to be a motorcycle mechanic for 20 years, and he came and saw what I was doing. You know, motorcycle mechanics are a lot different than, you know, automotive mechanics and stuff. They got all the fancy tools and kind of delicate work, and we were just laughing. We both decided that was the only way I could get that off, so I guess I'm doing all right. There she blows. Look at that. There's my silicone. I'd sealed it up on this end so nothing would get in, but obviously that ain't working. So down to my last one. I'm celebrating now. You know, since I've been pouring it in a glass like that and letting it foam and then drinking it, it doesn't fill me up. Alright, so I'm going to fire it up and see if there's any burrs on there. Get it all nice and shiny. Alright, there she is. Get the silicone off there. I'm just gonna slather it up with anti-seize compound this time and say screw it. I'm not putting any silicone or nothing on it. But I did that the first time and it seized up. At least my crankshaft's not bent. I was getting pretty rough on it. So, okay, I'm taking the raised metal off here where I was prying. The raised metal gets you in trouble. It's not the dings, it's the raised metal it causes. So, get it all on the same plane. There we go. Now, I've already slathered it up with anti-seize with copper in it. Get that key, I'll put that to 12 o'clock. Okay. Now, I'm going to slather this up. I figured since I put a big bead of silicone around here and right here, when it went together, nothing would get in there, but that didn't work. Alright, let's see if I can get this baby on here. Let's see. Yeah, it's at 12 o'clock. There we go. Oh, she looks pretty. All right, so I've taken the fill cap slash dipstick out, and that's where I'm going to fill it. And I'm using some AMSOIL synthetic compressor oil, 30 to 40. You guys can use whatever you want. I always choose synthetic, and it either needs to say compressor oil or non-detergent. And the only reason, now a lot of tractors run detergent in their gearbox and differentials, Caterpillar and so forth, but the reason behind not running detergent oil is because detergent oil, in certain instances, depending on the mesh of the gears and the speed of them, will make it foam. And you don't want your oil to foam because then it's not lubricating correctly. You could probably get by without that, because this is, I think this is a well, don't say, I think it's a 6-to-1 ratio, so you know your gear mesh is very small. But anyway, when you can, go ahead and use non-detergent. I couldn't find a funnel, so I'm going to run it in on this. Get down here low enough. There she going in. So I got everything installed. I bled it out, the SH in the water, and it runs great. It shoots great. One thing I found out though, it shoots the exact same distance as my AR45, which is about 60 feet. I can stand here and shoot just right across the road, and that's where this one's hitting. Now, I'm going to tell you an issue that I have is, okay, before I do that, I had the Water Boss gun on there with a smaller orifice, and I could only get to about the other side of the road. It wouldn't shoot any farther. So while I was shooting it, both guns, I cranked this regulator all the way down, which is all the way up, and I got no more distance. Now, when I'm running at 400 to 500 off the gun, and I get on the gun, it drops down to 200. So if you wait like a couple of seconds, it builds up the pressure in the hose, and then when you release it, it goes way over there, but then it drops off real fast, which that tells me that the diameter of this hose is too small to utilize anything, say 300 pounds or over on this pump, because you got such a restriction. You get that burst and then it comes back. All that is, it's not the pump or anything. It's not even the low pressure side, the suction side. It's not that. It's the smaller hose. I have 1/2 inch, so what I'm going to do is order me some 5/8 ag hose, not 5/8 rubber hose, and change that out, and I should be able to utilize more pressure and get more distance. And that's all I wanted, was more distance. But I'm going to show you how she fires up and runs right now. I'll get away from there. So I'm at 400 pounds. I usually ran my other one at 250 to 300. I'm at 400 with this, and when I shoot it, it goes way out there and then it comes back. Let's watch. I can just feel it in the gun. You got a real big burst. Real big burst, and then it falls off. So if I up the only way I can utilize the extra pressure that this is putting out is to upgrade to a larger hose. I got a leak. So I got a leak. I shouldn't have a leak right there. Oh well, there's always something to do. What I'm most happy about is this regulator. Working just fine. Oh, now we gotta... Well, as you guys just saw, I blew this diaphragm out right there. Slicker and crap. I don't even know how that did that. I don't think I started or shut it down without pulling the trigger or anything. I don't know. I just figured this system right here would be fine. So I guess I got some figuring out to do. So now I'm going to have to get my downstream stuff going. I'm bringing it out of its second winterization. It got warm in Missouri last couple of weeks, and I was able to wash, and then it got to about 25 for 2 nights, so I winterized everything. I'm bringing it back out hopefully for the last time, but I'm going to have to downstream tomorrow. I got the rest of the week. This is Tuesday. I got work Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, and then next week, so I'm going to order those diaphragms and downstream. Let's see if that stuff works. I'm testing my downstream, and it's starting to hail. Wow. Not very big. About the size of a gooseberry. Okay, so we had a huge rain last night, and it just keeps bugging me why this keeps getting stuck, you know, the shaft into this input here, and so I looked at the AR45, and it didn't have a weep hole at the bottom right here, and so I thought, well, this one don't either, because I could feel underneath there, you know, under here, and I thought that don't have a weep hole in it. So the only way this would work keeping water out of it, if this whole flange was sealed up 100% against the motor, then no water could get in here. But what I'm going to do is I got my grinder here, and I'm going to cut me a weep hole right here, so any water that gets in is going to readily drain out instead of stay in here. Number two is this flange goes straight across here, basically from this bolt hole to this bolt hole, and if you look, going straight across this hole to this hole, there's a place here that the flange don't mount up. Actually, don't mount anywhere around there except right around these bolts. So I either have to make a plate and silicone both sides and basically seal this flange to this motor, or keep getting this on me here, hold on. Or I was thinking about grinding me a weep hole right here and coming down like this and coming out the side. The other thing that interests me is I've only ran this about 15 minutes, and then I blew that blue diaphragm, and so the parts came in today, but my point is I've only ran it about 15 minutes, 20 at the most. And when I pull it apart, you guys saw how much anti-seize compound. I put the anti-seize in there, and I put the anti-seize on top of here. I pull it apart, and my finger's dry. This feels dry as a bone. There's no anti-seize left on the shaft. Since this shaft has some play in it, probably a 1/2 thousandths, it probably moves a little bit and starts squishing it out. That's the only thing I can think of. It's dry as a bone. Nothing there. So, yeah, I'm not saying don't put anything on there. I'm just saying that I'm surprised that there's not a coating on there. So, I don't know if the tolerance was so tight it just slid it off and it's back up in there or what. But anyway, I thought that was interesting. So I'm going to grind me a slot down here to act as a weep hole.
Okay, so I've got me a slot right there, and that should eliminate a lot of my problems. I may not be able to keep any water from getting in there, but when it gets in here, even if it hits the shaft, it can come straight off, drain out. Otherwise, it was just laying with water in here. All right, I have it all mounted, and UPS just a few minutes ago delivered my new diaphragm. It came as a whole kit. What I notice is it's threaded. I mean, obviously I can take it off like that and replace it. I don't need to take this off, right? But so now I'm thinking, what the heck does this really do? So I went in and I read every word of my manual that came with the pump. It makes no mention of this diaphragm. Even in troubleshooting, it doesn't say if your diaphragm blows, here's your problem. So I was like, I'm looking here what the diaphragm actually does, and it's directly into the intake side of the pump. So let's see. So it looks like to me, okay, so you have two intakes and two, well, input and output, low pressure, high pressure. It's the same manifold. So if this one's able to withstand 600 pounds, why doesn't this withstand 600 pounds on that side? Makes no sense to me. The AR45 doesn't have this gimmick thing. I'm just curious, if you turned it off without, holding the gun on or relieving the pressure, and you're running at 400 pounds, you're 400 pounds on this side, and then it's going to equalize and be 400 pounds here. Of course, it's going to swell up your hoses and stuff too, 400 pounds. But what does that actually hurt in the pump and then make this blow? I don't know. Almost makes me think I can just put a plug in there. And then I started thinking, well, why don't I just get a adjustable or a set regulator, or a pop-off valve, not a regulator, a pop-off valve, and just screw it in here, and then if it does pop off at whatever rating, then I can reset it. Okay, I've finally figured out why this is blowing. In the manual it says just to put it in bypass mode, and then you can shut it down. And that's what I did, and it blew this diaphragm. And I'm like, why in the heck is it doing that? But in their diagram, they're showing it being like batch mixed. So the return is going back into the tank. So there's no pressure on the low side. The way we run it is back into the manifold. So when you put it in bypass, it actually puts pressure in the low side and blows this out if you don't have the gun on. Now, I figure I'm going to forget one day and blow this out, and I'm just down to my last one. This is my second one. I've only got one more to spare, but in my mind I'm thinking the AR45 could take that back pressure with no problem. The only issue is some of your low side fittings and stuff would leak, and I have a video showing how to find leaks by doing that, purposely putting pressure in the low side and soaping down your valves and stuff. But this pump is rated for 600 pounds, the AR45 for 298, I believe. So if I'm running, say, 300 to 400, there's no reason I can't put this in here and just plug that off. Now, kind of cringeworthy. If this works, I'll get a brass or a stainless to go in here. But here's the thing: this is metal. This is a metal housing, plastic coated metal housing. That's going to take any back pressure I put on it. And so
I don't, and I guarantee you that these check valves in here are the same as the 45 and same as the 40 and the 50 and whatever, but I just think that this is going to work. So I'm going to put that plug on and you know, not just start out low pressure and see if anything blows up. So that's what I'm up against. I can't be forgetting or whatever and blowing these things out. Past 30 minutes I've been running this thing through all sorts of tests. So the first test is, can I adjust this where it'll shoot across the road? Like my AR45 would hit that opposite curb over there, standing right here, hit that opposite curb, and I'm about 5 feet short with the big, now this is the same as the blue gun and red gun, and it's non-stainless steel, but the, you know, the orifice and all that's the same. To be honest with you, I don't have any problem with the non-stainless steel general pump washdown guns. I just don't have any problems with them, so I'm just going to buy them because they're cheaper. Anyway, so I'm sitting here shooting, and I'm not getting across to the curb, about 5 feet short. So I thought, well, you know, this pump is really rated at about 1.5 gallons less per minute, but it's rated at 598 pounds instead of 298 like the AR45. And so it's kind of blowing my mind because I have it at 400 pounds and it won't go any further. I can put it at 500 pounds, it don't go any further. I notice that when I'm on the gun, the most I can get out of it is about 210 pounds. It doesn't matter. Once I reach 210, I can screw this regulator all the way down. It still registers 210. So I'm not gaining anything. So then I thought, well, I'll get the Water Boss on there because it's got a smaller orifice. It's not rated for, this is rated for 16 gallons per minute. I forget what this is. I think it's rated for 10 or 12. Anyway, but it definitely has a smaller orifice. I've had it apart and compared. And so I thought, well, I'll just put this at 400 pounds, shoot across the road. This is the main reason I wanted more pressure. I could give 3 craps about the volume. I just want to be able to get my soap on at, you know, higher elevations. There's a lot of times where I'd have to get on a step ladder and just get up 5 or 6 feet to hit a peak of a 2-story building, you know, with a 12-12 pitch. Got to get up there. So I was hoping that would, something that put out 400 pounds, 500 pounds, as opposed to my AR45 at 298, would reach those higher peaks. Now I knew that the volume was down, so my rinsing would be slower, but I really don't care. If it takes me another 5 or 10 minutes on a job to rinse, I'm okay. But this is not doing it. This, oddly enough, doesn't even go as far as this gun. I would have thought with the same pressure and smaller orifice, it would shoot farther. But I'm trying to think of, in my head, why is that? I think it has to do with the stored energy inside the actual water column. So you throw a larger water column out, it has more energy in it to take it further. So I think of it like this: if you're a baseball pitcher and you're throwing 95 miles an hour, consistent, 10 balls, 95 miles an hour, and you take that heavy ball and you put it to the side and you give your pitcher a ping pong ball and he throws with the same motion and stuff, that ball won't even reach the plate. Probably go 30 feet, 20, 30 feet. So that's my thinking on why this goes farther than this. You know, you guys can leave your comments below. I really don't know. I'm not a scientist or nothing. I'm just trying to think of it what the issue is with my simpleton mind. So another thing, since this bypass does not go into a tank, it actually goes back into the system. Like if you're running 400 pounds right here and you're not pulling the gun, but you're like, I'm going to lower my pressure, and you lower the pressure, well, what that does is dump pressure back into the bypass, puts it back in the system, and makes the intake side leak. So the reason I actually have two redundant but different systems, one of the biggest reason was my 12 volts were going out left and right, so I figured I'd shoot a hot mix with my diaphragm, and then I got washing houses with the diaphragm, and at the same time I'm running this. My son can run this and do the flat work, all the concrete. Before, when my son worked with me, I'd wash the house and then give it to him, and then he would wash the concrete, or vice versa. Either way, we had downtime, so I just thought, I'll get a redundant system that's different, get rid of my 12 volt, and get a diaphragm. And so far, other than the leaks, the 45 worked really well. So what I'll probably end up doing is limping this along for the rest of the season. Come during the winter or spring, I'm 99% positive I'm going to get rid of this and do something else. I mean, I don't know. I just want something I can put on. It runs, it doesn't leak, it lasts for a couple of years. That's all I ask, a couple of years, and then put a new one on. But so far, I'm not finding it. So anyway, got to fix that leak. I'll show you what it does. Let me start it up. I'll show you. That's doing that on just 200 pounds of pressure. So now I'm figuring out why they put the diaphragm on there that probably blows at like 100 pounds. Even though this is a metal housing, is because of crap like this, O-ring blowing out. This is metal. This should be metal. Then we wouldn't have that problem. In fact, I'm not sure what thread that is. If that's a national pipe thread or British thread or what, but anyway, yeah, not happy. Let's wrap it up. So I don't like the AR30 or the Hypro, which is the same thing, D30. I don't like it anymore. I don't like it at all, actually, compared to my AR45. AR45 has leak issues, but it didn't have the other pressure issues that this one's having. I'm relegated to run about 380 pounds because when I'm on the gun, it runs about 210 pounds. I increase the pressure at the gun doesn't increase. Now that could be a lot of things, mostly because of my 1/2-inch hose. Now, all right, so far I like my AR45 better, minus the leaks. Although you saw that this had leaks. This leaked here, and this fitting right here leaked. I really thought I'd get extra distance with a little lower volume but higher pressure, but I'm not getting any more distance. In fact, I'm getting about 5 foot less than my AR45, and I was wanting 5 foot more than my AR45. So it isn't happening.
So I'm either missing something, or it's just inherent in this setup that, you know, I can only shoot. I measured that off at 60 feet. 60 feet to the other side of the curb, so I'm shooting 55 foot. Yeah, that's better than a 12 volt, but I was shooting that at 298 pounds, basically 300 pounds shooting, and it was hitting the opposite curb. So my thinking was, if I could shoot another 100 or 200 pounds of pressure, I'd get farther. For some reason, it's not working. In fact, I've got my pressure washer set at 2,500 pounds, and with the Davis shooter nozzle, it will just reach that curb. So no matter what system I'm using, no matter what, I can only shoot about 55, 60 foot. Now what I'm going to do is get a 3/8 by 1/4 inch adapter, so I can put the shooter tip on here and the M5 twist, and that should eliminate the internals of the gun and hopefully get a little bit further, just on those special jobs where you need to get a little more height. So right now, yeah, I'm gonna downstream. I did my last 3 jobs downstream, and it wasn't a problem. A little more, you know, a little more wear and tear on your arm, especially in rinse mode. It really, you know, pulls you back. But the opposite side of that, on rinse mode, this thing rinses twice as fast as my AR45. So rinsing is a lot faster. So I don't know. Hadn't been a good day or a week, but I got work coming up, so that's good. And hey, I think that's going to be it, unless something weird comes up. So please like and subscribe, share my videos. I hope you got something out of it. Leave a comment below telling me how much of an idiot I am, and I'll maybe make some changes. So thanks for watching. See you on the next video.